I learned that I need to, take the big picture and not do everything, but focus on certain things.
Welcome back to Frederick Advice Givers, episode 191. This week, I've got with us Don Burgess of the Frederick Tour Facebook page. If you are a Frederick local, I would highly suggest going on Facebook, checking out Frederick Tour, because that's how I tracked you down. Is you got some awesome photos, man, of just random shots, artistic shots, people, places, historic shots. So I wanted to get you on, and come to find out, the Frederick Tour is like a passion project for you. You're by trade a scientist, work at NIST. So you do this kind of in your spare time, spare time loosely. But so Don, for our audience that might not know you, tell us about yourself and your backstory.
We've been involved in a lot of things. I'm interested in historic preservation. They're all going together. Interested in historic preservation, interested in Civil War history, been involved in that in many ways, interested in heritage tourism, economic development, photography. And so I think the motivation is promoting Frederick, through heritage tourism, and that there are many aspects of that, and so they all hang together, at least in my mind.
Right. So are you part of the Tourism Council or anything like that?
No, I interact with them. I mean, I give them photos. I like to be more involved. I think maybe in the coming year, I'd like to maybe become more involved with the National Museum for Civil War Medicine. They give tours.
Right.
I know some of the people there, and they could use so maybe volunteering there rather than to the Tourism Council.
So has photography always been a passion of yours?
Yeah, I probably did it for 30-some years. I think I picked it up when my daughter was born 38 years ago. Okay. And I was shooting film then.
Right.
And I was always involved, interested in streetscapes and town things,
Okay.
And, I dropped away for it or not as intense.
Right.
While my kids were growing up. And then probably 15 years ago, I took it up and bought some good cameras and lenses. And
have you always lived around Frederick?
For the last 30 years,
Okay.
We lived in Hightstown for many years in Montgomery County, and for Harpers Ferry for about 10 years. And we moved here about 3 years ago. We always wanted to live in Frederick, and the time was right.
So, like any good idea, did you get inspiration for Frederick Tour from another website, somebody else doing photos of cities, or was this you just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I want to start a Frederick Tour Facebook page and take cool-ass photos"?
Well, I've always been interested
Frederick
in heritage tourism and promoting it, and I saw a vacuum there, is that individual galleries in town promote their members, but the town itself is not promoting, and I mean, they do, the city itself, yes, does help out, but there's not a central site for events and photography, and the name Frederick Tour is I'm trying to give you a tour of everything Frederick, and so I'll shoot anything and everything.
A visual aspect.
Yep.
Awesome. So let's back this up for a second. Take this on a more personal level. And this might lead directly to this. What's the last purchase that you splurged on for yourself or your family?
Well, the last purchase was a brand new camera and a brand new big telephoto lens, and I've had other things, but I'm sort of stepping up my game to, the cameras. I pre-ordered it.
Okay.
It came the first one off the shelf, and
Okay.
And this is a professional level, 100 to 400. This is what the pros use.
Gotcha.
And it's made a big difference. I've owned it for 2 months. I think I've shot 3,500 images, and not all good, but it's made a significant improvement in the photos quality.
How much is your editing process? Like when you actually take a photo to when I see you post it on Facebook or?
Could be small, can be a lot. That I have automatic ways of processing the photos that adjust intensity and contrast,
right,
and color. But then, something you want to make a little bit better, I'll go in and work on it more. So with the big megapixel, 32 megapixels here, it takes a long time just to process each
right.
photo. So like I shot something, an event, concert on Saturday night, and 2 hours of shooting photos, and I probably spent 4 hours processing it,
Right. Yeah, I found that I have a professional photographer that shoots all my real estate listings, and she spends double or triple the time actually editing them than she does taking the photos. Yep. So the editing process really can enhance the quality of the photos.
Yeah, like I'll shoot on Saturday. I shot 500 and some photos, but I came away with 70.
Right.
Because bad ones out of focus. And
so when you wake up in the morning, do you think, hey, I want to take a photo of this today, or do you just kind of walk downtown with your camera and take what intrigues you?
I'm more burst. I like the sun.
Right.
So I'll go out Friday, Saturday, or Sunday and shoot 200-300 photos, and then that, if I come away with 12, 16, I can post those during the week. So it's not every day, but it's big bursts.
Gotcha. So in the pre-interview, you said you're phasing out of your NIST phase of your career, right?
I used to work 5 days. I'm working 4 days now for the last however many years, and I'm going to move to 3.
So what's your next play? Obviously, you love taking photos. You're going to do travel photos. You just love Frederick. Or are you going to do?
I think mainly Frederick. I mean, there's more than enough to do here, and I want to branch out, more into Frederick County or not. I mean, mainly I shoot downtown Frederick because that's within 3 blocks of my house. But branch out, but I'd also like to maybe become more involved in giving tours to people.
Okay. And you said that's a passion of yours is the tour aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I gave
the Civil War.
Yeah, we lived in Harpers Ferry for almost 10 years, and I became expert, if you will. I mean,
awesome.
Not book quality expert, but so I gave some tours there. I'm very familiar with the Civil War history in this region. I mean, not Kentucky, but this region, and would like to give tours, not just the Civil War, but Frederick has other history too.
Exactly. So what keeps you motivated? I mean, you're posting like every day, right? Are you posting every day, almost every day?
Yeah, every day, or I try.
Right. So what keeps you motivated to, with your job and, with various other activities, what keeps you motivated to post every day? And let me follow that up with a follow-up question. You said you take multiple photos. When I see the photo posted, is it that day's photo, or could it be last week's photo and you just have it in storage?
It could be last week. Sometimes it's from a year or two ago. I mean, I try to do current, and as I said, I'll shoot in bursts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so I might get enough for 2 weeks, and then I just sort of, I mean, I've got lots of photos I've never posted that if I have a weekday, if there's no news that day, I could post it. I've shot hundreds of doors and windows in Frederick, and I have never posted those. And I have a backlog, but I try to do current things.
Right. Are there any? I know. Do you do in the streets? Do you do any of the runs? Do you do any of the events downtown? Or
yeah, I mean, I've shot. Well, I can't say I shot every event, but I try to shoot. I shoot every first Saturday. Shoot all the gallery openings except for when I don't. In the streets, July 4th.
In the last 3 years, what's a choice that you've made? Like, when did you start up Frederick Tour? Like, what's a choice that you've made that's led you to where you are today?
I guess it's just simply starting the Frederick Tour Facebook page. That was different, and I was interested in promoting the arts, heritage, tourism, and combining with photography. And one of the recommendations I have for people doing photography, especially starting out,
Right.
is first rule is shoot, shoot, and reshoot. Okay, I mean you can't get better unless you shoot, and I try to shoot thousands of photos every year. And then when you shoot something, it may not be just right, and you go back and shoot, reshoot, and so it's clicking the button. But of course, you have to know the elements of photography.
Right.
You can't just randomly shoot stuff. But better photographer, you just need to shoot more.
So let me flip that question. What is maybe a bad piece of advice for somebody told you when you were just starting to shoot that you had to learn for yourself or didn't work out like they said it would?
I don't really think there was, because when I got back into photography about 15 years ago, I joined what's called the North Bethesda Camera Club.
Okay.
It's the premier camera club in the region. I mean,
Okay.
it's got 500 members, and I got lots of good advice, and I'm not sure I ever
Gotcha.
got any bad advice.
So Don, we just met face to face 35 minutes ago. I always learn. I love learning about things I don't know about. I really don't know much about photography, and I learn by asking questions. I want to flip the script and have you ask me a question.
What motivates you outside your day job?
My kids. So outside of my day job, I coach. I'm there for them. We have the Impact Club here in Frederick, which helps give back to the Frederick community. I like helping people. I like sharing people's stories, like we're doing here on the podcast. So being somebody that my kids can kind of model or look up to. Not all the time. I'm far from perfect. I say the F word far too many times, and I don't always provide the right direction, but I try. And my kids are my motivation. As you said your daughter's 38, right?
Yeah, I got 4 kids.
Four, okay.
They're 38, 36, 37, 34. They're
Right.
mid to late 30s.
Grandkids yet?
4 grandkids.
Awesome. What failure or loss has helped mold you and set you up for success, or mold the person that you are today?
I think, I've always been involved in a lot of stuff in tourism and preservation. And I think, at a point I got just way too involved. I mean, and you can't see the forest for the trees.
Right.
And so I think, when I realized that, well, my wife said it, but, I was able to back off.
Right.
I mean, I learned that I need to, take the big picture and not do everything, but focus on certain things. So I think that's the...
Awesome. So where do you see yourself in 3 years and then in 10 years? If you have a bigger, grander vision for your photography.
Yeah, I think in the next 3 years, I'd really like to move into giving tours or being more, up in my game in promoting Frederick.
Okay.
So I guess it's not heritage tourism, it's just promoting it. And it's great for everybody. It's great for economic purposes.
Yep.
It's fun for me. So in the next 3 years, I'd like to, bump up that game. And in 10 years, doing more or different of the same thing.
Okay. So if you go to Facebook and put in fredericktour.com, you can find your page and your photos. Do you sell any photos?
Yeah, I have I'm in a gallery, Fran Burns Gallery on East Patrick, 25 East Patrick, I think.
Okay.
It's a couple steps from Square Corner.
Okay.
So there's 3 for Fran, Bruce Saunders, and myself are in there. So it's full of Frederick photos. There's a couple other ones like Fran's from Ireland.
Okay.
So people can.
So people
buy-
can go there and purchase some photos.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if you want bigger size or smaller size, we can always
Just reach out
do
to you.
that. Yeah.
Cool. Don, thank you so much for joining us today on Frederick Advice Givers, episode 191. Don Burgess with Frederick Tour, and we are out.